Hey guys, Yusuf here. And today I'm going to go over the market to give you an idea of what I have as an outlook for this week. Last week, you guys remember I was shorting the market. Well, I was too early and I was wrong on that. And that's all right. That happens in trading. It is literally part of the game. And you guys can see we broke out of this trend line towards the downside, moved up. And even though we were staircasing up, oh well, we took the elevator down much faster when we were going down. So you guys can see this. I actually played the long over here. It was a very short long. You can see this move towards the upside. I played that, took my profits around 6,330, around somewhere down here, right at the moving average. And now you can see prices beginning to move down. And some of you might be wondering, well, what are those green lines up there and the red line down here? Well, the green line up here with a number on it is the target for Bitcoin to the upside if I was bullish on it, and bearish on it towards the downside. And essentially what this is a fuel gauge of, on average, how far does Bitcoin move to the downside or upside. So it gives me a bit of a gauge as to how much room I have left for the day. Because even though this is not perfect, it gives me an average statistically of how often Bitcoin moves during the week. And if we were to move to the upside, well, the upside target would be 64.7. And to the downside target, as you guys can see, we are heading towards there. It's 63.062. Now, this doesn't automatically mean we're going to get there, but it shows me that, okay, Bitcoin has a little bit of fuel left in the tank to move down here if it's going to be bearish. So I do expect Bitcoin to move down here because we are a little bit in a range, and you can see a bit of a fair value gap down here that Bitcoin is most likely going to grab. And the target is a little bit above that. So I think we are going to end up moving towards the downside here. We might get a pop back up though before we move down. We'll have to wait and see. This was a very aggressive move towards the downside, as was this. And you guys can see we put a little bit of a move, a counter trend to the upside. And now we're getting the bleed down. So overall, Bitcoin is in a range. You guys can see a very tight range. And I am expecting us to maybe make it towards the downside. It's not a for sure thing right now, but as they move towards the downside, they're simply playing the liquidity game. This whole range is a liquidity game. So the liquidity is going to be sitting in the most obvious places, which is right below here, because a lot of people have their stops below here. People who are going long have their stops sitting right there. And if they're going to play the range game, they're most likely going to go for that target. You can see right here, we have this little top. And what did they do? They went and grabbed the liquidity very quickly, and that gave them enough fuel to move towards the downside at the start of the week. And we're most likely going to do the same thing at the bottom. You have people having their stops down here, grab it, and depending on how many orders are down here, we're going to grab this one, or we're simply going to grab the one below it down here. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. And then once that happens, we might be also able to target the move towards the upside, which is going to target this higher part of this range. You can see we topped out at around 66.8 last time. Well, guess what? If we do go up here, we have a lot of orders sitting there. You can see the top happen here once, twice. The third time it goes up there, you can bet they're going to grab that liquidity and send it back down again as we play the range game. So that's what we're looking at here. Although I will say that the alts have had a better opportunity than Bitcoin in terms of volatility because this has been a tight range, but the alts have had some good moves towards the upside. Let's take a look at Fartcoin, for example. But first, I want to show you guys the target on Fartcoin over here. You can see it's at 1300. It hasn't quite gotten there, but most likely is going to make it down. Fartcoin is especially volatile. You can see it breaking down from this wedge, and now we're heading towards the downside. Usually it likes to retest, and we did get that retest up there. And this one might be ready to just continue ranging as well, as it is looking to consolidate. On the daily, it looks really nice. You can see it right there. You can see it's broken out of this downtrend right here. And it's put in a nice dip and it's trying hard to break this. So if we do break this top right here, I do expect us to revisit at the very least that 16-cent spot. So we'll have to wait and see if that happened. I mean, you can see the resistance right away. We have a lot of it up here, but they can break through this quite easily and move on higher if Bitcoin gives it a shot, and we do end up going to the top of the range, because Bitcoin simply gives these alts permission to move to the upside if the structure is right, and Fartcoin has proper structure. So looking at that, and you can simply count on the trend lines here. So you can see it's held this trend. It's creating a trend, I should say. We'll use the bodies, and you can see that the target falls in line with the trend line coming towards the upside to support it. So that's something useful you can use as confluence as well. So if I was looking to long Fartcoin here, it would be down at that target and potentially target higher. So something to look for next week, as maybe it makes a higher move towards that nice 15.7 cent range. So that would be a nice long right there. You simply put it below the last low. And if they grab that, that'd be annoying, but it's part of the game. So look for something like that as a potential trade next week. That's what I'm looking to do, at least as Bitcoin looks to turn around. Now, another coin I'm trading here is Hype. And Hype was a short for me. You can simply see the wedge to the downside. And every time we touched this line, we got a retrace towards the downside. And this one had me thinking potentially we were going to move higher. And the only reason I didn't take the long, because I would have taken the long here. So I would have taken this long right here. However, because I saw Bitcoin was bearish and I saw Solana was bearish, it made me think if Solana and Bitcoin are bearish, it's going to be very hard for Hype to move on up. And we also got this very aggressive move towards the downside, which shows me that sellers are in control. So I went towards the bearish bias, and that was the right move, evidently. And you can see that the target for Hype is actually a lot lower. It's got still more room to go. So I'm holding my short on this one. I got short around, let me just check my price. Opening price was 55.15 or 197. So I got short around 197, would be 55.197, around there. So I got short around here, and we got the move come extremely fast. And now I'm waiting to break this bottom here because the target shows me we're most likely heading towards that place right there. So we might get another move towards the upside here, and it might come back close to my entry. But guess what? This was going to be a potential short depending on what Bitcoin's doing. I don't mind giving back this profit because I don't care about the open profit right now. I'm targeting for this one, this bigger move right here. And it might give me a chance to add on another stack as the weakness is showing on Hype a lot here. So we'll wait and see. On the worst case scenario, I simply break even and give back my position on Hype, the open profits. So I'm looking to play that game because I'm looking to push my winners. I'm not looking to simply take less than the average volatility that Hype gives on the daily. So this should be a pretty easy target to hit by the end of day. I would expect Asia to carry the session on, and we move on to the downside. Now, another coin that I managed to catch here is Tau, and Tau, I shorted it at 202.2. So my opening price was right there. And you can see on the larger picture, we have a trend line, which is why we bounced off of right there. And potentially this one is done, although you can see the target is towards the downside at $195 almost. So we'll have to wait and see if this one can make it towards its target, or is it simply done? I think we have some more bearish hours left in the day and potentially into tomorrow. Simply because I'm looking at Sol over here, and Sol's target is at the $74 area. And for Sol to make it down there doesn't necessarily mean all the other coins have to drop, but it just showed there's more bearishness waiting towards the downside. So I'm not confident that we're ready to turn around just yet. We have the FVG for Solana down there. So if we were to bounce here, I'd potentially be looking for a setup of another short to take me down to the $74 area during Asia time. So we'll have to wait and see if we can actually get to that target before tomorrow, because these numbers do reset each day and they give us new targets each day at the New York session. So that's what we're looking for with Solana. We can also see on a larger time frame, you can see the trend line I have supporting price action. If by next week we can actually get to this $74 area, then I'd be trading it towards the upside of $97 in the long term. I mean, you can see Solana can move up pretty fast in just 10 days, 30%. So another 10 days, another 30% on there for Solana is also possible if Bitcoin can head towards the top of the range there, but we'll have to wait and see if that's possible just yet. But you can see we're getting a little bit of a relief rally here on Solana. Maybe we close that FVG up there. I mean, you can see if we just grab this tool, we don't quite know how high it's going to go, but this would be a really nice entry, something like that, and then trade it down to the 74 level. That's something I could be looking for here if the market was generous enough to give this to me. So we'll have to wait and see if we can actually get this or not. I do expect, because this was such an aggressive move down, we're most likely going to get a retrace towards the upside and then simply trade it back down to $74. So the market giving us potentially another opportunity. Simply trade it to the FVG up here and then reshort down here. And I think it's as simple as that. we'll have to see if the market can actually find the liquidity to push us down. Unless I'm wrong and where it's a reversal, which is always a possibility. My setups do tend to work about 7 times out of 10, and the bias is currently bearish. So I would assume that we have a good chance of actually making it down to $74, as there's a lot of confluence down here. So we'll have to wait and see if that's actually possible for Solana. And finally, we have Pump. But first, let me say, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe, because next week I am releasing a video on common problems traders face on the way to profitability. So if you guys are on that journey, make sure to subscribe to not miss next week's video. But as for now, we're looking at Pump, and we can see we're getting a bit of a bleed. It's been one of the strongest performers in the crypto market along with CRV. And you guys can see how they played the liquidity game down here, got the liquidity and inverse head and shoulders, and now they're headed towards the top of the range over here on Pump. So potentially we're going to simply shoot for that target up there, although you can see we're getting quite aggressive and extended on this move up. So right now, retrace is likely towards the downside, maybe down to about 2,400 as they attempt to grab this, depending on a couple of factors. I mean, you can also see the trend line here. I mean, that's for the first one. We've got the second move up around there. You can see that. So potentially down to target would be an entry, and then you target at that 3,400, depending on how Bitcoin looks. It's always referencing Bitcoin because the market will move according to what Bitcoin is doing, and Bitcoin is moving according to stocks. So you have to watch everything essentially. But as for now, you can see Pump is trying to push down. I'm assuming it's going to grab some liquidity from above before actually heading to that target. You can see I've got my alert here, so I can see what it looks like and what Bitcoin looks like by the time we get up there. So a lot of analysis needed to do before you actually pull the trigger. But I've got my levels I'm interested in watching, and potentially if we get them, then I'll take the short to the downside and as well to the upside. I would say the upside currently looks better than the downside, but this trend line could break, and that would be a different story then, wouldn't it? But as for now, guys, that is the end of the video. And like I said, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe. Let me know what you're trading and how your trading journey is going. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care and happy trading.